Hello again and welcome to our October 2024 edition of Quick Kit. Links to everything that we mentioned will be down in the description below. Let's get into it. ARRI have announced their new line of Enso cinema primes, and they are aimed at being their most versatile set of lenses to date. They are certainly inspired by the signature primes, but come in at a significantly lower price point than them, which should make them available to productions with lower budgets and even interesting for some owner-operators. But their £80,000 price tag for the 6-lens set is still a significant amount of money, and currently they aren't available to buy separately. There will be 14 lenses in the set ranging from 10.5 to 250mm, most of which are t2.1, though some of the longer and wider focal lengths do go up to t2.8. They use ARRI's LPL lens mount and will also be compatible with ARRI's 1.4 and 2x extenders. They are much smaller than the signature primes, which will certainly make these more manageable on set and on smaller configurations. One of the most impressive features of the Enso lenses is their close focus. Pretty much every lens in the set has a magnification ratio of 1:4, which is really impressive and makes them incredibly versatile. The signature primes feature their rear filter system, and the Enso primes have taken that and elevated it even further. With the announcement of the Enso primes, they also announced these new vintage elements, which are inspired by their impression series of filters for the signature primes. These new filters will allow you to change the character of the lens in quite a substantial way. Another nice detail of the Enso is that when you use the different positive and negative vintage elements, it will correct for the change in back focus automatically when used with a high 5 running firmware free and just in metadata in generally. This is a really nice touch and goes even further with the new connector on the net holders and rear of the Enso. You'll be able to program the different net holders to be recognised by the camera, which will be great for metadata. There is also the new Enso Creative Adapter, which allows you to clamp optics at the rear of the lens. These will be available in 3 different sizes to accommodate different optics. These creative adapters also have the same LDS system. On the LPL mount itself, you have both Cook eye data and LDS2 support. The rear caps are also improved and even now have the extra depth needed to keep the rear elements attached while putting a cap on. They really do look like a nice set of lenses, and I can't wait to fully test them. Let us know in the comments if this is a video that you would like to see. They also announced a few software updates to a range of their focusing equipment, including the Hi5, C-Force Mini RF and ZM-U4. If you want to learn more about what's new, I've put a link to the breakdown on ARRI's site in the description below. Up next, Sennheiser announced the Profile Wireless, their take on an affordable dual-channel wireless audio set. This 2.4 GHz set includes the receiver, 2 clip-on mic transmitter combo units, the charging case, a few accessories, and a carrying pouch for it all to go in. The included charging bar can actually be used as a handheld microphone, as the transmitters slide into it like this, and it comes with a softie to cover them up. The transmitters themselves are very small and lightweight and have omnidirectional condenser mics built into them, as well as a locking 3.5mm connector for lav mics, which this set unfortunately doesn't come with out of the box. The transmitters have a rated runtime of 7+ hours and feature 16GB of internal storage, which will allow you to record roughly 30 hours of audio directly onto the transmitter. They have a claim range of 245 meters when line of sight, a dedicated headphone output on the RX, and are available to output via 3.5mm TRS, USB-C or Lightning via the included cables and adapters. Here's a quick little bit of test audio to show you the kind of audio quality these things can capture. This is a test of the Sennheiser Profile Wireless, around 15 centimeters from my mouth, not using a lav mic, just straight into the transmitter itself. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. They're going to be priced at around $299, or this in pounds and euros, and they're available to pre-order right now. Up next, DJI announced their latest drone, the Air 3S. This new drone is aimed at slotting in just under the Mavic series, and brings a bunch of new features over the Air 3. It features 2 cameras, one which uses a 1-inch 50-megapixel sensor with a 24mm equivalent field of view, and one that is a slightly smaller sensor but has a 70mm field of view equivalent, which provides a much more unique drone look. It can capture up to 4K 60 or 120 depending on your camera profile, and features DJI's D-Log-M color profile. It does seem like it's an upgrade over the previous Air 3 in regard to image quality, and while it's not quite as professionally focused compared to the Mavics, it can still capture good enough stills and video for professional work. It has a rated flight time of 45 minutes, has improved safety features including front-facing Lidar, and can even return to home now without satellite signals. It's priced at just £959 for the basic drone bundle, and there are two Fly More combos which change out the controller type, with the most expensive one being £1,439. They are all available to pre-order now on our website. Freefly have announced their latest accessory for their Ember series of cameras, the Media Expander. This module attaches onto the rear of the Ember cameras and adds some awesome functions. This new module only adds around 280 grams of weight to the camera when an SSD is mounted, and it mounts directly onto the back of the camera in a very seamless way. It also allows for plates to be mounted on the rear, so you can still rig the camera up with something like a battery plate. It also adds a 3G SDI, which can output 1080, 24, 25 and 30p. They have also made some super low profile non-locking SDI cables for more compact and tidy rigs, where you don't mind removing the locking function of BNC. You can output either a clean feed or a feed with the camera's UI overlaid, and the Ember now has support for anamorphic D-squeeze in camera as well. It has ports for Genlock and timecode, but these are for future functions and are not currently enabled. The new module is compatible with the three different SSD modules that Freefly offer. You have a standard TLC 4TB drive and then two PSLC SSDs, one which is 1.28 and one that is 2.56 terabytes. And using these two unlocks the pre-record function for these cameras. All of the SSD modules have a built-in USB-C port, so you can plug them straight into your computer without a need for a reader. This port supports up to 40 gigabits per second, which results in some really fast offload times. The SSDs slide straight into the module and can be hot swapped out without needing to reboot the camera. The module is going to be priced at around $400, which I think is actually really reasonable given what it does. And I think it will be a no-brainer for anyone who already owns an Ember, especially if you want to add the pre-record function to your camera. Fujifilm have announced a range of new products and some new firmware for a few of their cameras. First off, they announced their newest mirrorless camera, the XM5. This new camera is being aimed as their entry point into the X-mount system, and has new features that aim it more at the casual image taker and content creator. It features a 26.1 megapixel X-Trans CMOS 4 sensor that is powered by their latest X Processor 5 processing engine. It can capture 6.2K 42 10-bit up to 30p, 4K up to 60p, and 1080 up to 240p. It has a new 9x16 shooting mode and reduced bitrate modes for social media content creation. It's very compact and light, weighing just 355 grams, has Fuji's typical retro-inspired aesthetic, and a flippy screen but no viewfinder. It has 20 film simulation modes built in, with a new film sim dial on the top, has 3 built-in microphones, and a new vlog mode. And as of Blackmagic's 3.17 update to their video assist recorders, which we'll talk about in a bit, you can record B-roll externally, which, considering its £799 price tag, makes it a pretty interesting hybrid content creation camera. They also announced 2 new lenses, the XF 16-55mm f2.8 R LM-WR2 and the XF 500mm f5.6 R LM-OAS-WR. Lastly, they announced that they are planning on releasing new firmware for the GFX 102, XH2S and XH2. This includes the addition of F-Log2, improved autofocus performance with added subject detection and face and eye detection modes, and support for ambient lock-it devices for timecode. These updates should be available in November. Atomos have released firmware 11.2.00 for the Shinobi 2, and it brings a range of upgrades, including focus control via the touchscreen. This feature is only available though currently with a few cameras, and even with these the actual control is pretty limited on some of them, apart from on the R6 Mark II, which when you have set up just feeding out onto the monitor, not the rear LCD, works pretty well. You can tap to track and see the camera's tracking box on the monitor as well as where you're tapping on the Shinobi system. And then you can also just control the camera as you expect along the bottom bar. Fingers crossed other cameras can be updated to behave similarly to this. This new firmware also brings ARRI Force Color and EL Zone exposure tools, which are already in some of Atomos' other monitors. The Shinobi 2 is available to order now, and the new firmware is available to download now. Links to both are in the description below. Canon have announced 3 new RF lenses, a 70-200mm f2.8, 24mm f1.4 and 50mm f1.4, all of which are hybrid style lenses. The 70-200 has the same physical design as the 24-105mm f2.8 hybrid zoom that they've released earlier this year, and the 24 and 50mm are similar to the 35mm f1.4 hybrid prime that they announced with the C400. The 7200 features an updated optical design over the previous RF 7200 2.8. It's available in black or white finishes and has internal focus and zoom mechanics. The hybrid primes all feature similar size, weight, mechanical design and iris blades, so they are decently uniform, which is great for video work. We've created videos around them all, so if you want to learn more about them, check out the videos on our channel. All three of these lenses are available to pre-order now on our website. They also announced more details on their APS-C VR lens. Canon also released firmware update 1.0.1 for the R5 II, which looks to add a range of bug fixes and improved operation. And lastly, they announced that both the C80 and C400 are getting support for Adobe and Frame.io's camera-to-cloud technology, with a release hopefully coming later this year. If you want to keep up with the latest and greatest kit, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to buy anything you see in this video, or any other gear for that matter, head over to cvp.com where our experienced team is waiting to help you. Up next, Blackmagic announced a few new things. This includes Resolve and Fusion 19.0.3, an update for their converter systems, and Camera Update 9.1.1, which brings improvements to the Pixis's overall image quality. They also released updates for the Video Assist and Blackmagic RAW to handle the Fujifilm XM5 and Panasonic S5D, which can both output Blackmagic RAW to the Video Assist 12G HDR recorders. They also announced that the FX6 and FX9 will be getting the ability to record external Blackmagic RAW with their Video Assist 12G HDR range. Both of these cameras have the ability to output ProRes RAW, but as ProRes RAW can't be used in Resolve, it's not quite as popular as I think B-RAW will be with these cameras. Blackmagic RAW is an excellent format to use in post. It has great quality, flexibility and playback. There's no specific release date for this yet, just soon. But I think for some people, this is an exciting announcement and could breathe some new life into the FX6 and FX9. Fingers crossed we see the A7S III and FX3 get this update too, as I think that this would be a great pairing with them as well. Oh yeah, and lastly, the Blackmagic Pixis has finally started shipping, and we have available stock ready for next day shipping, as well as a range of accessories for it. Up next, Amaran released two new small LED panel lights, the Ace 25X, which is bi-colour, and 25C, which is an RGB fixture. Both are 25 watt fixtures with a 32 watt boost mode, which results in them being punchy little lights. They both have internal batteries which can power the lights for quite some time, but it does depend on what mode you have the lights in. They can both be charged and output power via their USB-C, which could be helpful while out on location. They are very small and light fixtures, and even have a nice strong magnet on the back for mounting. You also have a couple of mounting points on them, so it'll be easy to mount them in unique ways, or even on a camera without it being too cumbersome, especially with the new Ace lock system they've released as well. You can also change the fan mode, which will be helpful for certain shooting scenarios. The fixtures have a control panel on the back, a custom function button on the side, and can be controlled via Bluetooth. They're available in a few different colours and in kits or by themselves. They are priced pretty competitively too. The bi-colour is around £70 and the RGB one is around £100, and then you just add on £30 if you want the accessory kit if you like all the extra bits that it comes with. They're available to order now on our website. Apple have announced both their new series of MacBook Pros and Mac Minis. These both use their latest M4 series of processors, and while the new MacBooks do look nice, I think the Mac Mini is the one I'm more excited to see. Its base model is just £599, which is insane given what this little thing could do. Our Mac Studios have been incredible since we switched over to them, and it is impressive how the cooling system works on them, so I'm intrigued to see how well the system in the Mac Mini performs too, given how incredibly small it is. While their prices can start quite low, the upgrades for the internal memory and storage are expensive. I'll be keeping my eyes on my favourite tech YouTubers to see some proper benchmarks on these soon. Fingers crossed they perform well. Up next, Kondor Blue have released a range of accessories around the very popular DJI Focus Pro system. Most importantly, this includes a cage for the Lidar unit, which will allow you to mount it in a range of different ways instead of being limited by the included cold shoe bracket. Getting the Lidar positioned as close to the front of your lens as possible only improves the performance and reliability of the Focus Pro, so a third-party mounting solution is 100% needed. They also offer a cine mount for this cage as well, which could work well with some rigs, and a range of different USB-C length cables, which could be helpful for larger lens configurations. The cage and mounting system are actually priced pretty reasonably as well, and could be a really good way to mount the Focus Pro Lidar much more reliably. Another new good-looking mounting option for the DJI Focus Pro Lidar unit is the Lens Cuff's new accessory mounting system. This uses their existing Lens Cuff system and adds the ability to mount accessories like a Lidar or rangefinder unit on the lens without the need for an on-camera or bar rigging system. It could be quite a neat solution for mounting the Lidar, though it does look like it sticks out quite far from the lens. I'd be intrigued to see how close to lining up with different lenses front elements that you can get with this. Anyway, it's an interesting looking solution and something I'm sure we are going to get in to have a look at some point given the Focus Pro's popularity. If you haven't seen our Focus Pro video before, check it out via the link in the description below. Tascam have announced their FR AV2 32-bit audio recorder. This new compact audio recorder features comprehensive timecode support, Bluetooth monitoring, which unfortunately requires an additional adapter, and the ability to record 32-bit flow audio internally, which of course is great to see. It looks like a nicely laid out unit. I could easily see this rigged onto the side of a camera, which I'm sure some people will do. It has two XLR TRS combo mic and line inputs, and a USB-C port for charging and connecting to computers and phones. It's definitely on the pricey side compared to the Zoom F3, which is what we use to record the audio for our videos, but I would be intrigued to see how they compare to each other. It's available to order now on our website. SmallRig have released the RC60C, an RGB version of their very handy 6dB cob LED fixture. This little light is a 60 watt fixture with a range of 25 to 10,000 Kelvin, has a bunch of industry standard presets for gels and 12 lighting effects. It looks like it's still an incredibly small fixture and weighs just 700 grams, so mounting it in weird and unique ways is definitely going to be possible, especially with the built-in battery, which will last about 45 minutes at full power. This can then be charged via the PD USB-C port on the back in around 2 hours. You can also power the light via this PD port as well. It's controllable via the screen and dials on the side, or via SmallRig's Go app. You can also grab a small softbox for these quite cheap, and even get an adapter plate to go to full-size Bowens mount modifiers if you want to. We've found loads of ways to use the bi-colour of this little fixture. It's my hairlight now, for example, and I'm sure an RGB one will be just as helpful. There are two versions of the light available, one that comes with a few accessories and the power bank clamp, and one that doesn't. They are both available to order now on our website. They also announced their S60 wireless microphone set. Panasonic has announced a few new products and new firmware this month. First off was their latest mirrorless camera, the S5D. This new camera is essentially the original S5 with an updated set of firmware which will allow DJI's Lidar system to be plugged straight into the camera and then allow the Lidar data to drive the autofocus with their L-mount lenses. I'd be intrigued to learn as to why this couldn't have been done with just a simple firmware update to the original S5. And weirdly, it's only available bundled with Panasonic's 28 to 200mm or their new 18 to 40mm f4.5 to 6.3 zoom lens, which they announced at the same time as the S5D. Next, they announced some new firmware. First was an update for the S9, which was initially released a couple of weeks back but got pulled down and then re-released on the 18th of October. It does bring some really great changes though, including a lift of the limited recording modes that the camera initially had at release, though this will depend on the environment temperatures that you're in. It also adds the ability to have up to 3 frame markers on display simultaneously, enhanced autofocus subject detection, compatibility with the Lumix Lab app, and other small changes. Lastly, they announced firmware for the S5 II, S5 IIX, and G9 II. This includes the ability to use them with the new Lumix Lab app, support for 5 GHz Wi-Fi, support for the DMW XLR2, and some other changes. All of this firmware is available to download now on Panasonic's site. Nikon have announced the Nikon Z28 to 135mm f4 power zoom lens. This looks really similar to the Sony 28 to 135mm zoom that they released years ago now, but of course this is for Z-mount cameras. This is currently just an announcement that this is being developed, so there isn't too much detail about the lens just yet. However, it of course is aimed squarely at video acquisition, which is great to see from Nikon. I'm intrigued to see if this has any optical stabilization built in, as I think this type of lens really needs it. What video focused lenses would you like to see Nikon develop in future? And what's your ideal zoom lens? Let us know in the comments below. Right, let's get into our quick fire honourable mentions. Links to details about these are in the description below. Axiom released the Como SE wireless intercom system and the TopRig 100 watt 4-bay MPF fast charger. Apple showcased their new short film Submerged, shot from the ground up for viewing on the Vision Pro. Bebob announced the Coco Double, a dual-channel B-mount power adapter. Blazar have finalised pricing and opened orders for their Kato series of 2x anamorphics. Cooke released the 21mm t1.4 for their S8 series of lenses. Laowa have introduced the Proteus Flex series of 2x anamorphic lenses. These allow you to swap the rear flare modules between a few different options, including a clear one designed to give a cleaner look, and their 16-30mm Ranger is now finally shipping. Lights have added 3 new focal lengths to their Hugo series of lenses, a 66, 75 and 90mm, all of which are t2.1. Lexar announced a new 2TB USB-C SSD, primarily designed to be used with smartphones. Mid49 released their new twist mount EVF, monitor and NATO accessory mounting system. Insta360 announced the Ace Pro 2 8K action camera. Rig Wheels released a 90-degree vertical camera mount with a rough payload of 79 kilograms. Sony announced the DC-C1 DC coupler and BC-ZD1 dual MPF Z100 charger, and announced updates for their camera remote toolkit. Sirui announced the Aurora 85mm f1.4 autofocus lens for E, Z, L and X mount cameras. Tamron announced their 90mm f2.8 Di3 VXD macro for Sony E and Nikon Z mount cameras. Tiffen released a range of new glow filters consisting of the soft glow, black soft glow and golden glow filters. And lastly, Viltrox announced the 28mm f4.5 pancake lens for full-frame Sony E-mount cameras. This looks insanely small and thin, and is going to be pretty affordable as well. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you subscribe ready for next month's Quick Kit, and let us know what kit you've picked up this month in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.